This is Quigg and Cassius Five from London. We're at the Grosvenor Hotel here in London with me. I've got a couple of gangsters really, Spencer
That's not
and
funny.
Ed.
That's not funny.
Who's a couple of gangsters? Ed's a gangster, isn't he?
Ed definitely a gangster, but
Are you an OG, Ed, or not?
What's an
Spencer,
OG?
Ed became
What's an OG?
an OG, an old gangster.
Oh, no, I'm not.
No.
original.
Original gangster.
Yeah, no. We're here for a select few people that have been invited here to talk to Lennox Lewis. So I see you guys here, and I thought I'm lucky to be here, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Well, I came here. Cougar's looking like Huggy Bear again. Yeah, I mean, even though he's lost the weight, but the bear's growing up. You know what I mean? Like we said, always spread love.
Definitely. So I've already done my bit, so this is why I can have the luxury of getting you guys on here. Thoughts on Anthony Joshua's professional debut? Start with you, Ed.
He did what he had to do.
Yeah.
You know, Emanuele Leo probably flattered a bit by his 8-0 record, but still showed a little bit of ambition because at least he was used to winning. And Joshua went out, and we were talking about it. We were just saying earlier, weren't we? Just the finishing punches. He put the shots together really well, showed some variety. So he was throwing the straight right hand to start with, but the way he finished him off with the right hand round the side was a bit reminiscent of Ray Mercer knocking out Tommy Morrison when he got Morrison on the ropes. You know, just good finishing shots.
It was, and it was a barrage of punches as well. That was the thing with Anthony Joshua. I'm impressed. All right, then. We were saying this today on Toe to Toe, which is the greatest show of all times, right? Ringside Toe to Toe, let's get this right, Sky product. Now, when Anthony Joshua got going, how he just puts the shots together, it was reminiscent of Ray Mercer. It was also reminiscent of a little bit of Evander Holyfield. It was like, right,
I think he studies Holyfield.
Yeah, he does. I put the punches together, and that's really good to see a big man, because he's a very, very big unit, to put combinations together like that. That's impressive.
We've talked about it before. He's a natural athlete, isn't he? You saw him on the BBC Superstars and the amount of dips he was doing, how fast he was running, doing 100 metres. He's a natural athlete. I think he could have been good at any sport he chose to do. And I think he's got the right mentality, and the fact he studies fighters, and we're seeing more of his personality come out. I know a few people were a bit critical on the internet saying that he seemed quite formal in interviews, but that's just because he's a bit cautious. And the post-fight press conference, he was really being himself and making some jokes and laughing about Ali turning pro in October, and hopefully people making comparisons there, just as a joke, but he's a good guy.
What do you think about people giving the choice of opponent a bit of stick the next day? There's a lot of things going on saying, well, you know, who's he meant to fight then? If he's going with an 8-0 kid in his first.
Wait, Audley Harrison, yeah, sold out. It was in Wembley when Audley had his first pro fight, right?
Yeah.
Mike Middleton was no better than this man here. In fact, that guy would have beaten Mike Middleton. Lennox Lewis in '89 when he turned pro, when he fought Al Malcolm. Al Malcolm was he was 11 and 12.
Al Malcolm
right?
was a little bit dangerous, but
it was dangerous because it was a Central Area champion. But Lennox just walked out there and blapped him. You look on Frank Bruno. Frank Bruno's first undefeated fighter that he fought. Do you know who's first undefeated fighter Frank Bruno fought?
Was it Bone Crusher Smith?
No, it was Mike Tyson. Bone Crusher Smith has already lost prior. Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
You got to look at that. Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko went to 14. I think it was 14 and 0 or 19 and 0. And the same with Povetkin. Povetkin was 14 and 0 before he fought anybody of any real danger. So who's unbeaten. So come on. Right now, the most important person for Anthony Joshua in him stabilising himself is actually the matchmaker and the team around him that are making the fights.
Yeah, it was his first fight in 14 months as well. There was a lot of pressure on him with the homecoming and everything. He wasn't really the main event. Scott Quigg was the main event, and I thought he did exactly what he had to do. Scored a knockout, looked good, impressed a few people.
Scott Quigg was handed the WBA title before he fought Salinas. After the draw, do you think Scott Quigg will really consider himself to be a world champion, or at the moment? I know he didn't lose.
He seemed like he felt like it was a loss, not because he felt he lost the fight, but because he was so desperate for the win. And he stuck to a game plan. I admire him for sticking to a game plan. Maybe he should have stepped up a little bit earlier, but do you know, a week's delay has actually got a lot of implications with making weight and peaking at the right time. He didn't want to make any excuses, but I think he'll have learned from that. And we were saying earlier today, the truth is, if they made a rematch tomorrow, you'd fancy Quigg very strongly, wouldn't you?
Listen, Quigg came on very strong in the later rounds. I remember you were there ringside, and I was walking around to everyone saying, "Well, how did you see it?" Because I was at the bar on food duties for Darren Hamilton's kids. it's like murders, man. They eat everything. But like, no, I missed a couple of the rounds, and at that time, people were saying to me that Scott Quigg was being outboxed. He came on very, very strong, but you have to look when you're scoring on individual rounds. If you have lost, say, three of the first 3 rounds of a fight, which have been 10-9 rounds, it's a struggle to get back into a fight. But what happened was Scott Quigg won the latter rounds from round 9 to round 12 very, very convincing. Like, he put it on him, and there's times where he hit Salinas as like Salinas didn't want to know. You could see a little bit.
Yeah.
Not saying he's a quitter, but you could see some little, ooh, that hurt me a bit, you know? So if you're
the feel that was that Quigg won the fight, even though they probably won the same amount of rounds.
Yeah.
Because Quigg won the rounds slightly bigger,
more
but
convincingly.
if it's 10-9 rounds, they're still 10-9 rounds.
Championship rounds, as they say.
Yeah, the championship rounds he came in strong.
You've got to say, with someone like Salinas, whose amateur record was reported at 301-16, and was a 4-time Cuban champion, and with Scott Quigg coming from kickboxing background, having no real amateur experience, you know, what an education for Quigg. He showed he is world class. I think Salinas will do well in the future, and Quigg will learn from it.
Yeah, and I like the fact, like, you know, Joe Gallagher's first guy proper going out challenging for a world title, and long may live the spirit of Phil Martin, who Joe Gallagher was under the tutelage of, who's a superb trainer who he must have died about 20 years ago now, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, God rest Phil Martin's soul in paradise. But I went in their change room just before the fight, and I said to him, you know, I gave them all a big hug, and they have got such a good camaraderie in their stable. You know what I mean? I got a lot of time for him, and so Scott Quigg should feel like he's a world champion because of how he finished the fight. If he finished the fight and said, "Oh, well, I could have done," he gave it all. Everything he had in him, he gave it all, and I can understand why it was a draw, but he should feel like a world champion.
Okay, just finally, did we see a touch of the old Miguel Cotto Saturday night?
Yeah, you were saying earlier that Delvin Rodriguez was made for him. Delvin Rodriguez is a tall guy who gives up his weight a little bit and stands toe to toe, so he probably was made for Cotto. But I like the kind of bounce in his step. I like the fact he had his left hand a little bit low, he was feinting well, his left hook was vintage, the body shots inside. It's just like he's a marketable guy. People like Cotto. He doesn't break into a smile too often, but he's still got some charisma, isn't he? And Canelo Alvarez is a natural fight, but despite the problems between Golden Boy and Top Rank, I mean, we were talking about Sergio Martinez as well.
I'd like to see. I'm not gonna really get too crazy about that victory. Remember, Ashley Fiapane beat and Rodriguez. So did Trout, and
when six losses on his record.
Right. So he's lost to quite a few people, but it's the manner in how Cotto just dismantled him, just went in there, put it on him through just hurtful, hard shots. But I'm not going to get overly flattered by it because he's still top tier. In the world today, Miguel Cotto is top tier as a fighter. So when you look at the guys that he's lost to, he's lost to all-time greats, bar one guy in Margarito that, you know, there was some little dodgy thing going on. Well, they believe something dodgy was going on there, but he got the revenge victory over him. So he's lost to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, who are all-time greats. So there's no shame in that.
I feel sorry for Austin Trout, really, because he beat Cotto quite handily. A lot of people thought he was quite unlucky against Canelo Alvarez, but Cotto's still more marketable and probably get pushed forward for another title shot instead of Trout. But
well, not only that, but Cotto has paid. He has paid his dues to the sport, and I would like to see him and Canelo, because that fight with Cotto and Canelo, you know what I mean. We also know, like, Puerto Rico, Mexico, it's been going on for ages. You know what I mean, like, you got, you know what I mean,
great rivalry,
right? It's a brilliant rivalry, and you know what I mean. If you look back to the debatable loss that Oscar De La Hoya had against Felix Trinidad. If you look about the incredible war, please, you young people who like watching or hearing me talk about history, how great was Julio Cesar Chavez's fight against Edwin Rosario?
Yeah.
What
even
a
against
fight!
Camacho was so hyped up.
Yeah, exactly, because you got that. But he destroyed Camacho. Yeah, Julio Cesar just destroyed him. Stayed in his chest like night nurse. It was just vicious. But yeah. I would like to see that fight. If that fight could happen between Canelo and Cotto, that would be incredible.
Okay. Just the last thing, don't want to go into it on the deep talking, but just call these fights for me. Marquez, Bradley, Ed.
I think Marquez, because I think the Bradley fight with Ruslan Provodnikov took too much out of him. There's all this talk about him being concussed for weeks afterwards. I just think
he went to 3 neurosurgeons, didn't he?
You agree with that?
You know what? I would like to think that we're not giving Marquez his dues. He's an incredible fighter. And I think somebody to give Marquez trouble would be a slick kind of in and out kind of boxer. And if you think for somebody who's a black American in Timothy Bradley, he's not really like got that much of a black American.
He's a rough, tough guy.
He's a rough one. He's not a silky kind of smooth kind of guy. He's more in your face. So you slightly favour the veteran, but we don't know what is left inside the veteran. We're talking about the Provodnikov fight with Timothy Bradley and how much that drained him. But are we not forgetting that Pacquiao, before he knocked out Pacquiao was beating up on Marquez.
Yeah.
So you know it's an interesting fight, and I'm kind of staying on the fence with it, but because Ed's going the way of saying like a Marquez victory, then I'm going to slightly lean to that. But it wouldn't surprise me if Bradley won on points.
And Provodnikov and Alvarado.
Ooh.
You just know it's going to be a war, don't you? Just like style-wise. But
Could it top the Provodnikov's last fight with?
I would hope
Bradley?
that Alvarado. Well, I would hope for him that he boxes a little bit more smartly. You know, and I think he's got more to his game than Provodnikov. You know, is just going to come to bring it. But I think Alvarado can use his brains to make that a relatively easy fight. I remember seeing Mickey Ward years ago on Nassim Hamid undercard against Augie Sanchez, and Mickey Ward was like just such a rough, tough guy. If you stood in front of him and had a fight like that, and he fought, I think it was Antonio Diaz, and just boxed his head off. Diaz boxed his head off. And you know, if you want to stand in front of these guys, you're going to have a war. But someone like Alvarado, I think, is clever enough to make it a relatively easy fight if he doesn't get drawn in, but that's a big if.
Yeah, you know what? That fight there, I'm being real. Boxing is actually won because that you just know that is going to be an excellent fight. Provodnikov is actually one-dimensional, but it's a good one-dimension that he is, right? Let's not get twisted by it. It's a good one-dimensional, but maybe Provodnikov could just do him, you know. Maybe, I don't know, because you know what I mean. He's had hard fights, you know. He's had 2 back-to-back wars that could catch up with you as well. Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one, man. I'm on the fence.
All right, Ed Robinson, Spencer Fearon, thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, man. Listen, big up iFilm London, because iFilm London, just seriously, man. Everyone knows my thing. Spread love, man. No hate or anything else. Just spread love and keep on watching Ringside Toe to Toe for the best in boxing worldwide.
Yeah, what he said.
Thank you very much.